Live from the SABC headquarters in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Welcome to this evening's episode of The Watchdog. My name is Vuyo Mvogo. On the show this evening and breaking here on The Watchdog, Eastern Cape Premier has just filed an urgent High Court application that seeks to interdict the implementation of the Public Protector's remedial order. We bring you all the details.
What we will not tolerate is deliberate acts of disregarding the rights of others, because that is criminal.
Behind last night's hostage drama, a freedom fighter lets us in on years of talks between the government and military veterans and the frustrations that contributed to last night's situation. And closing the show will be leaders of two political parties that once had a foot in but were later kicked out and are now knocking to get back in. That and more in tonight's episode of The Watchdog, which starts right now. Well, government has strongly condemned the hostage drama that played out on Thursday night in Centurion. Former military combatants held Defense Minister Thandi Modise, her deputy Thabang Makwetla, as well as Minister in the Presidency Mondli Gungubele against their will during a meeting. Modise, who is also a former military veteran, has refuted claims that South Africa is a failed security state.
A meeting between government officials and members of the MK-MVA, Liberation Struggle War veterans, the Azanian People's Liberation Army, and the Azanian National Liberation Army turned SABA. The former liberation veterans met with Ministers Modise, Gungubele, and Deputy Minister Makwetla to raise their grievances, but reportedly got angry because they were promised a meeting with the Deputy President, David Mabuza, who did not show up. That's when the situation took a turn for the worst, and the officials were held against their will for 3 hours. A situation they say is unlawful and unacceptable.
What we will not tolerate is deliberate acts of disregarding the rights of others, because that is criminal. And when the police came in there, they were not dealing with anything else but the violation of other people's rights.
But Modise further refuted claims that she and her counterparts being held hostage was a sign of a failed state.
I don't think so. I think South Africa is being put to a test. I think thus far we must be proud that even though yesterday, yes, police came in to break up the hostage situation, so far we have been able to hold it very, very tightly, for the state not to go overboard in the use of force, for the state to listen more than it uses force, and I think that is a plus for the democracy of South Africa.
56 people, including 7 women, have since been arrested and are likely to face charges of kidnapping. Esther Modise says she will not interfere in this case.
Precisely because I'm a military vet, especially from the non-statutory forces, we expect them to have gone through so much hell that Thabang and I went through, that we respect every right of every citizen, because we had to fight for it. We had to give up our youth to protect and ensure that our children's children don't go through what our grandmothers went through. Therefore, it will not be us asking for the dropping of the charges. Maybe Minister Gungubele will look at that and the presidency, but I speak in the name of the Deputy Minister and I that we will not interfere.
While government explains some efforts that it has made to address the plight of military veterans, including the review of the Pension Act and providing social relief distress, amongst others, Modise has, however, vowed to investigate why the concerns of military veterans have not been addressed, and has also promised to meet them again. Natasha Piri, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Well, joining us now is Pitso Hlase, who is a former combatant for AZANLA and now it's Military Veterans Association's National Coordinator. Pitso, thank you very much for your time this evening. We don't have a lot of it here on the program, but in the few minutes that we have, I'm going to ask you just to put us in the picture. Apparently, what we saw last night is a culmination of years of toing and froing between groups of military veterans and the government, conversations that, as far as many of you are concerned, aren't moving fast enough, broken promises. A lot of things have apparently happened. Take us through very briefly what has actually happened or where it all originated.
Thank you very much, Voyo. Good evening to your viewers. Well, maybe let me declare up front that I was not part of what has transpired yesterday.
Yes,
at
yes.
St. George's. However, I am well vested with the issues because I serve in the national leadership of AZANLA MVA. We as AZANLA MVA and together with other forces, we have been engaging the government, in the department in particular, about the benefits as per the Act of Military Veterans. Well, you remember that when this Act came into being in 2009, it has lots of loopholes, and it was amended in 2011, and trying to close the gaps. However, it's still lacking in terms of what we as the military veterans are trying to achieve for ourselves. We fought for liberation, we fought for this country, and we did not come up with the department. The ministry came up with the department because looking at our plight as military veterans. We have an umbrella body which was formed by the department, and we have been trying all these years, from 2013, if I'm not mistaken, trying to engage the department to roll out the benefits to the military veterans. And that did not happen. And the patience of the military veterans has been stretched, and I think it has been stretched too far, to a point that all those members who were there were disgruntled, and they lost faith in the leadership because they felt that we are treating the department with kid gloves. We were trying to show political maturity, we were trying to exercise patience, and we were trying to take the department along in order to make them realize the plight of the military veterans. I can tell you here now that this department, it is only in one province, and it is only the headquarters is in Gauteng, and it is expected to dispense benefits, over 11 benefits to more than 30,000 military veterans. You tell me a military veteran who is in Vamba, how will he access the department for any other benefits? Let's move forward and say in last year, in November.
Okay, just before we get there, just for clarity. So for the past 8 years, you've been engaging the government on. You've been asking it to deliver what is in the law of the country, what has been agreed to by everybody, what has actually been costed and found to have been affordable, but they have not delivered on what is actually on paper.
Yes, correctly.
Correct.
In fact,
now let's move now to
yes,
what has happened over the past year.
Well, one of the benefits which is in the Act, it's the military veterans pension. This pension, it has been supposed to have been rolled out a long time ago. We have engaged during the time of Director General Mtulu to say that to alleviate the plight of the military veterans. In our view, we think that paying out the military pension will at least alleviate the problems of the military veteran. There are other benefits, like we've got those skills benefit. The skills that the department is actually offering to the military veterans, they are not helping. For instance, as I'm talking to you now, there is a skill of knitting that is going on here now. And you ask yourself, what will we do with knitting? the sowing. There's nothing. It won't help us. It won't put food on the table. We want to be a part of the mainstream economy. We want to be empowered in agriculture. We want to be empowered in construction. We want to be empowered. We don't want handouts. We want the department to assist us. And what is worse with this department, every year in, year out, there's money that is going back to the fiscals. They are not actually doing what they are supposed to do. And we are dealing here with the officials who are very arrogant, who have no clue or no idea about the military veterans issues. Even if we try to advise them, they are so arrogant, including the new DG, this very, very new DG. She's clueless about the military veterans issues. And now, as I am speaking to you now, we were supposed to be having a SANVA conference, which is going to elect the new leadership. She is adamant that she actually descended in the dust of arena. She got into the politics of MK because of now the SANVA cannot have a conference to have a new leadership that will steer this ship towards the right direction. The leadership that is there, it has no authority because of it is said that it has outlived its period, its time. But the truth of the matter is that they have outlived their time, but that it is as a result of the past minister and the past DG. They have postponed the conference thrice, and as a result, this NOB that is sitting, or the SANVA executive that is sitting, it has no power to push because of they are always reminded that you have actually outlived your time. So there's nothing that you can negotiate with the department. This department is so arrogant. It is so arrogant to a point that other members of the military veterans community are taken to court by the schools for non-payment of the fees. There are litigations hanging over them. It's as a result of the failures of this department. It has no provincial offices. It lacks staff. There's no. It's only now that we have a DG. They've expelled two deputy director generals. We are supposed to have 5 chief of staff, the chief director. We don't have that. And as a result, what we see the army. It is one that is doing the administration in the department. There's no staffing, and that place has turned into a military barracks. You can't go in there as a military veteran and see whoever is responsible for any benefit. You will be told that you must stay downstairs and put your grievance either in writing or stand there and talk to an intern who doesn't know a thing. So we are really in trouble, and it is because of we as military veterans, we have exercised patience and we have been very tolerant of this behavior, and this behavior it's unacceptable.
Okay.
What has transpired yesterday? Yes, I don't condone it, but they call it themselves. They brought it to themselves that what happened yesterday.
Mm-hmm. So the group then. The group that yesterday held the ministers hostage are the people who have had enough and who are saying that you as the leadership aren't doing what you are supposed to do. So they are then going to take it, they have taken it, in fact, upon themselves to do what they think needs to be done. And a lot of you as the leadership actually don't support what they did yesterday, but you understand where they are coming from.
Yes, we don't condone that.
Yes.
But, when you have tried every possible means, we have even tried to reach the highest office in the land, which is the presidency, and nothing is coming forth.
But what happened, I mean, the president did set up a task team, and the deputy president was your point person. He even addressed you. So what happened subsequently? Where did things hell break loose?
It is because the deputy president is playing politics with us.
How so?
The deputy president will agree in principle with the military veterans, and when you go to DMV, then you are told something else. I'll make an example. When we went to a meeting with the deputy president on the 11th of November last year, one of the issues that we raised very sharply was the benefit for burial. to say that the 45,000 that the department is issuing out, it is too little. So then he agreed with us on the spot, and he said it is increased to 50,000 with immediate effect. Now we know the government processes. Even if you say so, but that you must sign a regulation and it must be distributed in the department. And up to today, that benefit still stays where it was. He agreed with us that it is unacceptable that the medical aid covers only a military veteran. But when you look at the members of the former forces of apartheid, the entire family is benefiting, the spouse and the kids. And with us, it's a different situation. That is unacceptable.
What did he say to that? What did the deputy president say to that? What did the deputy president say to that?
He said, no, that must be fixed immediately.
He agreed with you?
That's what he said. Yes, he agreed. He agreed with us. That it is totally wrong. That is something that must be looked into. There were other issues which were long term. There are other issues we were immediate with him. And that has not changed. The situation, it's only now that we have seen the new act circulating, which we don't know when is it going to be promulgated, that they've included our dependents and our spouses in the act to access the what you call the health benefit. However, as things stands now, those that were actually able to contribute for their pension, those that benefited in the past, they are still benefiting, and we are not.
Now, so was November the last time the deputy president addressed you?
No, I think the last time he addressed us as leadership, I think it was January or February. Mm-hmm. But then he was doing rounds in provinces, in effect finding mission. Mm-hmm. I don't know what is it that he was trying to find out, because he explained everything to that affects the military veterans across the board. Mm-hmm. And he established the task teams. Those task teams are law unto themselves. I remember I went to a meeting with the then DG, which is General Mabuyane, and he asked one of the members who were heading the task team to come and consult with the military veterans in order to clear the terms of reference. That general so contemptuously told us that he's not responsible, he's not accountable to JV, neither the military veterans. I personally wrote him an email to say, can I get the names of the people who are going to appear before you? He told me that he's not accountable, but those are our members that he's interviewing, and he's got no clue about Azanda activities and Azanda members. But he refused, and he says he's accountable to the minister. That's arrogance. That's how arrogant that those who are leading the task teams are. And how do you expect we are the stakeholders, we are the major stakeholders. They are dealing about us, and it's our lives. And they don't involve us. That is highly unacceptable. We must be part of every process so that they must understand our plight. They cannot decide for us what is good for us and what is not good for us. We must be involved from the beginning to the end, which the deputy president said, yes, all the stakeholders must be involved. But for some reason, when it gets to implementation phase, we are not involved. And what happened yesterday, it is as a result of the broken promises. And hence, we saying we cannot blame our comrades. Yes, they might have acted outside the perimeters of the law, but then it has been going on for far too long. How long is it going to? And this structure we're talking about is diminishing. We are dying. It's not a growing structure. We are dying. Our comrades are being very pauper. There's no money. We go out collecting handouts from people to assist our comrades. Some of them, they are not even on the database as we speak up to today. This situation that has occurred, Vuyo, this government is responsible for this situation. They actually brought this situation to themselves, and they must take responsibility, and they must release those who are arrested, because of it is them who actually made the situation to be where it is today. Had they acted according to the prescript of the law, they themselves, this wouldn't have happened.
Peter Hlase, we've only scratched the surface. I wish we had more time. Hopefully, we'll get into these issues in a few days' time or so. again, Pitso Hlase, who is a struggle veteran and the convener of the Azanla Military Veterans Association, which, of course, as part of the broad mass liberation movement, military veterans is a part of that, together with your APLA veterans, together with your MK veterans. But there's also other veterans who you heard him talking about, those who were formerly soldiers of the homelands, but also those who were members of the South African Defence Force. Lots of issues to unpack there, but we just don't have the time to and the people to do that with today. Hopefully, as I was saying earlier, we will find some time in the not too distant future. We're going to take a break. After the break, we speak to the lawyer of embattled Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane, who today filed an urgent application. He wants the Public Protector's report and the remedial action to be set aside pending the final determination of his application. We'll get into the detail of that in a moment. Embattled Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane wants the Office of the Public Protector to be interdicted from enforcing the remedial orders pending the final determination of his application. The Public Protector wants the Hawks and the police to investigate Mabuyane so that he can be prosecuted. The report must also be tabled before the report of the Public Protector, that is the Eastern Cape Legislature. That's according to what the Public Protector recommended when she released that report. And joining us now is the lawyer of the Premier of the Eastern Cape, Nico Sakela. Good evening, sir, and thanks very much for your time. So the papers were filed today. The papers were filed today, and just give us an overview. What is it exactly that you are asking the court? What's the remedy you are seeking from the courts?
We are seeking for two reliefs, one in Part A and in Part B. In Part A, we are seeking an order interdicting the implementation of the remedial actions or the remedial orders by the Public Protector. In Part B, we are seeking an order setting aside the report of the Public Protector. The basis for that is that the Public Protector made a finding that the Premier benefited on the funds that belongs to the municipality of Mbizana local municipality, totaling to a sum of about 450,000. We are of the view that that finding is wrong in law, based on a number of grounds as indicated in the papers. The Public Protector, in our view, has no power, one, to refer the matter to the Hawks for further investigations. The matter ought to have been referred to the prosecuting authority if the Public Protector was acting properly. But in this instance, we find that the Public Protector decided to refer the matter to the Hawks for further investigations.
Okay, now,
are you still?
I just want to take you back from what the Public Protector told us, which you just took us through. It is the Premier's assertion that that report, with what it says on the matters you've just taken us through, for a politician like him, being implicated and associated with corrupt activities. That has serious consequences in that, given what the ANC has resolved over the years. I'm not going to get into the Nazareth conference and what the NEC subsequently decided and so on. But the nub of it is that on the back of everything that the ANC decided, he's then going to be asked, or he's required now, on the back of the Public Protector's report, to step aside. And he thinks that's going to advantage him because, and I'm quoting here from the papers that you filed today, it will disadvantage him because, and I quote, of the findings, suggestions, and innuendo carried in the Public Protector's report and remedial action, close quotes. In other words, it is the view of the Premier that the report of the Public Protector and their findings and the suggestions also carry innuendo.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes. Yes.
And then the papers go on to say that the Public Protector report, and I quote, paints him as being dishonest, corrupt, and untrustworthy. And that, or anyone who then arrives at that conclusion, that then gets to adversely impact Mr. Mabuyane's political career. Correct.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, we're struggling with
the protector is
okay, we have a problem with that line. Let's try and re-establish it. We're speaking to the lawyer of the Premier of the Eastern Cape and provincial chairperson of the ANC, Oscar Mabuyane, who this afternoon, this we got as we were about to go on air, they've just filed an urgent application with the High Court. They want that Public Protector report and the remedial action to they want to interdict that report pending the success or failure, I suppose, of this application. And with us, we're hoping that that line is better now. With us is Ngqiko Sakela, who is the lawyer representing Oscar Mabuyane. Ngqiko, I hope we've been able to re-establish that line, and it's a lot better now than it was before we lost you. I was saying that the nub of it is that he wants the report set aside because it is going to disadvantage him, because in terms of ANC decisions, he is now, on the back of the Public Protector report, expected to step aside, and he can't do that, especially because he doesn't think that the report of the Public Protector contains all the facts. There's innuendo and there are suggestions that perhaps don't belong there. Am I correct in summarizing it that way?
Yes, you are 100% correct. The information placed before the Public Protector does not support a finding of corruption, maladministration, and misuse of funds. Mm-hmm. The information demonstrates that there was an agreement between Mr. Babalo Matikizela and Mr. Mabuyane about the renovations of the house that was taking place. And Mr. Mabuyane, in that agreement, Mr. Mabuyane was paid by Babalo. There is an agreement, a written agreement that the Public Protector is referring to in his report. Mm. That agreement was carried through by the parties and was respected. The money was paid, to to the architect in instances where the house was going to be renovated. Then upon doing that, when the time came, Mr. Mabuyane paid the money in full. Paid the money in July 2018. Paid the money in full. Public protector does have those facts, but the public protector decided to ignore all those facts.
Okay.
Those facts were placed before him long ago, and a letter was written. Mr. Mabuyane gave him all the necessary information relating to the agreement, relating to the payment of those funds, how the loan was repaid to Mr. Madikizela. The Premier approached Mr. Madikizela because Mr. Madikizela is his comrade in the ANC, and there was a need for him to renovate his house because there was a security problems because he was just elected, was taken to he was a secretary of the ANC, now he was moving to government. Then he needed to upgrade some features in the house. Then he did some renovations. You see. Okay. So those are the things that are involved. But all those facts were placed before the public protector, but for some reasons, they do not find their way into the report of the public protector.
Okay. Now, here's the ordinary person in the street. Here's what the ordinary person in the street doesn't understand. Now, as much as it was the public protector's recommendation, right, that the Hawks and the police investigate with a view to prosecute. In the normal course or order of things, people do get investigated. If the police or or any of the state law enforcement units find a reason to investigate somebody, then they should be able to do that, whether or not it's part of the recommendations of the public protector is neither here nor there. What people don't understand is why anyone would then insist on not being investigated or interdict. Because that's what should happen anyway. Otherwise, we're asking state law enforcement agencies not to do their work. Can you just clarify that, make us understand that? And this was the view of a legal person we brought in last night as well. This was also their view that no one should stand in the way of anyone being investigated, including themselves.
Yes, but that I'm not sure. I did not hear that interview. But let me put everything into a perspective, a correct perspective here. What happened is this: in this matter, there are two applications before court, different applications altogether. The first application, which was launched by Mr. Mabuyane, I think way before the report of the public protector, was against Hawks. What happened in that application? The Hawks wrote a letter to Mr. Mabuyane saying that we want to meet with you. We are doing investigation on corruption, fraud, money laundering. We want you to meet with you. Mr. Mabuyane indeed met with the Hawks. Then in that meeting, an agreement, a solid agreement was reached between Mr. Mabuyane and the Hawks, wherein the Hawks were going to furnish Mr. Mabuyane with the necessary information, including bank statements, because what happened is this: Mr. Mabuyane said, when you want this information, I'll have to go to the banks and get all my the bank statements that covers the period that you are investigating, because they said they are investigating a period of it will take time for me to get those statements, but be that as it may, I will get those statements. But the Hawks said, no, we are 90% complete with our investigations. Therefore, we have the information at our disposal. We will provide you with the necessary information on a certain particular date. That information, that date came and go. Nothing was done. The Hawks did not provide Mr. Mabuyane with the necessary information. There was an agreement. Mr. Mabuyane is enforcing the agreement in court.
Okay.
An agreement which was signed between him and the Hawks. He's enforcing the agreement, saying that give me the necessary information so that I can answer. That agreement supersedes everything. That does not mean Mr. Mabuyane is stopping Hawks from investigating him. Okay. He says, give me the necessary information for me to answer to the questions. Now they are not giving him the necessary information despite the agreement that was there. When we wrote letters, we inquired from the Hawks, where is the necessary information? Give us the information so that we can answer. The only letter we received was that because you are a suspect. It means now that because Mr. Mabuyane is a suspect, there should be a breach of an agreement which was reached. There should be a disregard of his constitutional rights that he has access to information. So it is at that instance that Mr. Mabuyane decided to approach the court to say, give me the necessaries, enforcing the agreement. 2 is interdicting Hawks from carrying on with the investigation without giving him the necessary information. That's how this interdict came, the interdict story. Sorry, is reviewing the decision to continue with the investigation despite not having been given the necessary information. That's why the Mr. Mabuyane now is
okay. That line is troubling us again, but that's where we're going to leave it for this evening. I have to thank you.
That is an application which was launched way before it preceded the report of the public protector. Then coming to this one.
Okay. That line is bad, Nico. I must apologize, but thank you for your time. He is the lawyer representing Oscar Mabuyane, who is the Premier of the Eastern Cape. Today they filed an urgent application with the High Court. They want the court to set that public protector report and the remedial action aside pending the outcome of their application. Up next, we speak to leaders of 2 political parties that once had a foot in but were later kicked out. They are now knocking to get back in. That's coming up in a moment. As municipal elections draw closer, tonight on the program we're joined by the leader of the APC, Themba Godi, and Mwako Moyaha, who from AZAPO. They are leaders of 2 political parties that once had a foot in and seats in parliament. Later on things changed. They're now knocking to get back in, starting with these local government elections. Good evening to both of you, gentlemen. Thanks very much for your time. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Godi, if I may. Presumably, before you started with your election campaign, you looked at what went wrong, you know, why the voters you had rejected you in the last election, and then hopefully built your campaign for these local government elections on the back of that analysis, did you?
Well, the analysis of what happened in May 2019 was done in July 2019, and since then we have been working on the program that we agreed upon in July 2019 and nearly expanding its implementation. Mm-hmm. So by the time we registered for these elections, we were actually implementing the programs that we have already worked on. Mm-hmm. And we are quite happy and satisfied that in the 2 intervening years, we have been able to pull ourselves and put ourselves in a position where we're confident that our standing will be redeemed.
What is the APC about?
Well, look, the APC, and that is what makes it to survive, stands for an idea. We stand for a political paradigm very different from what we've had in the last 27 years. We are ideologically very clear about what we want, we're politically consistent, and we're organizationally stable. our main interest is to ensure that freedom has material meaning to the majority of our people by pursuing a policy that ensures that policies must arise from the logic of the African situation and in the long-term interest of the African millions.
Mwako Moyaha, you are on the line. We had problems with your video, but I want to ask you pretty much what I just asked Themba Godi just now. As the Azanian People's Organizations, you ought to have looked at what went wrong, and on the back of whatever analysis you did, then came up with a strategy, that you're going to use to fight this particular local government election. Did you do that? And what is it that you are putting on the table in front of South Africans?
Good evening and thanks for the opportunity. The Azanian People's Organizations acknowledges that the local government elections are a very critical sphere of governance. Delivery is not happening at provincial level. It does happen at this local government. To this end, we are continuing to campaign for the abolition of all provincial legislatures and have those human resources and financial resources redirected to local government so that we can have efficiency, quality services that are happening. To this end, AZAPO also want to say voters must understand that they have got power. Hence, our theme for this year local government elections is restore your dignity, take back your power. If we are conscious of the power of the vote we have, we'll earn the respect of the voter, the votee. Once the public representative is voted into power, he will regularly give reports to the voters. He will indeed perform according to the mandate of the voters. We think this is key. And indeed, we had taken stock of whatever impediments that we had in the past. And to this end, we believe we are ready for this local government election. The message that we sent to the people is just to make them conscious of the power of the vote. And they must use it responsibly and vote the power of the party that has consistently, from its creation, been on the part of the black people.
Themba Godi, I'm looking at, which is pretty much the way you started, forgetting the other history that came before that, when we were still with the Pan-Africanist Congress. But a lot of parties start at national level, where they build a base, which you did, and then build a name, often build a name for the leader or those who are in the National Assembly, which you did. You were chairperson of SCOPA, and it is usually from there that they then get to make gains in the local sphere. But with what has happened, you are now forced to do it the other way around. Do you not think, from a resource, but also just from a, I mean, people know you or knew who you were, and then you disappeared. So it's almost like you're starting from scratch. Do you not, and usually, I mean, small parties just don't have the resources to go out there and do the door-to-door on a daily basis and be constantly in the, eyes and minds of people. Do you not think that's going to disadvantage?
Well, look, Vuyo, I hear what the point you're making. Unfortunately, or even fortunately, that is where we are. We are satisfied with where we find ourselves. We have made peace with it and have started to work our way up. If you look at the number of municipalities who are contesting, 73 in the 9 provinces, and the amount of work that we're doing, as we're talking, I've been in KZN for a couple of days, from here to Free State and then Western Cape. I will be going through all these provinces. Yes, it is a challenge, but we have built for ourselves a core of cadres who are able to do work within their respective localities. I'm sure you saw us launching our manifesto in Buffalo City, of all places. And one would say, but how did you build Buffalo City out of nothing? Because we're not there in 2019. Today I was in Doni municipality in KZN. We're not there in 2019. Yesterday I was in Mtubatuba, Pongolo. So yes, it is a challenge. We do not have the resources because we're not getting money from the IEC, we're not getting money from Parliament. But lo and behold, we seem to be doing much, much better. I think taking my focus away from scoper work and focusing on the APC has actually given us the space and the capacity, that is the intellectual capacity to plan, to figure out things. And we're quite comfortable where we are, that we're going to make modest gains in these elections by all measure, whether you're talking Western Cape, whether you're talking KZN or Free State or Northwest. We are satisfied that in terms of where we want to be come 2024, the APC will be in a much, much better position and want to be the first party to be told you're out of parliament and to then come back 5 years later.
Okay. Nwanko, I'm keen to know whether the sort of what you as AZAPO were able to do, given, of course, also, I mean, your own set of misfortunes where, I mean, several groups decided to go on their own. Has any effort been made to bring those other people who had left and then, you know, try a different start? Have you even tried?
Now, it is true, but let me also, even before I answer this, Buyo, answer the question that of resources, which, to me, we believe that resources are being distributed by corporate in the manner that they do to maintain the status quo, to maintain capitalism, which is an enemy of the advancement of general population of majority people in the country. So an organization like AZAPO should not expect that capitalists will sponsor us. I mean, we all know he who pays the piper calls the tune. Indeed, we have had our own challenges as an organization, individuals and groups deciding to go their own way, leaving the AZAPO, and they are still our comrades. We acknowledge, and we all know, even when we talk with them individually, informally, talk to each other, that there's nothing ideological that separates us. We do not understand why this happened. We tried to come together. We succeed. We cannot stamp the authority over this. And as a result, we are just not successful. We don't understand as well. And we agree that we don't understand why this has happened, because it is not ideological. But possibly we can also cast an eye on which I think he has just released the surface of his investigation, the Honorable Sidney Mufumadi, when he did the investigation on the South African security agencies, where billions and billions were diverted from the agency into fighting other, ruling party factions and so forth. And I asked myself, if this could happen, that money can go to members of factions within one party, what about those parties that are not necessarily, liked? Probably more billions and even trillions came to destabilize us. I mean, we have asked ourselves in the previous elections what the army and other things wanted in the elections and so forth. But we cannot understand, but we have tried our best. Okay. And I think we are very positioned to, our message has been consistent, It has been about the dignity of people. It has been about the economy. It has been about the land and quality services, accountable councillors. And to us, accountability cannot be collective. Accountability is specific.
Okay. Themba Godi, we've established a little tradition here where we give a party at the end some time and then start the clock. I'm going to be generous today and give you a minute. We usually give you 30 seconds and say, if someone forget everything else that was said today, where you come from, what happened, and put a case for your party and say, this is why you have to vote for the APC, and I'm giving you a minute.
Thank you very much. The APC vision for local government is service delivery and good governance. The task of local government is to deliver services to our people, but you cannot do that in the absence of good governance. We want a people-centered and people-driven process. We are calling for ward-based budgeting. We say 20% of the budget should be shared equally amongst all the wards to ensure that there is development guaranteed in every ward. Secondly, we want social audits by which communities are given the opportunity to audit the provision of services and state their dissatisfaction and appreciation of what has happened as a way ensuring that power is given back to our people and not to the leaders. For that reason, I believe the APC should be your choice.
And that's where I want to leave it. And Wago, your minute starts now.
AZAPO promised the electorate a trustworthy and reliable leadership. AZAPO-led municipalities will make sure that jobs are created through cooperatives. It be building cooperative, agricultural cooperative, and insist that AZAPO-led municipalities spend money within those cooperatives. I mean, we should not be getting people outside of any community to come and build houses when we have so many. But AZAPO also believes that once you elect us into power, this means local government power, we'll establish within every local municipality a skill development center where our youngsters who have gone to school and it's not a problem of their own that they cannot get jobs because the skills has not been sharpened. We need to do that at that local municipality and also establish mentorships for them. And indeed, we also call for recall of non-performing councillors.
Okay. And that's where we're going to leave it for this evening. Wako Mayaha from AZAPO there and Themba Godi, the president of the APC. And that was our show for this evening. To join us again on Monday. Have a great weekend.